that takes us back though to those who've been listening to us since the beginning, since 3 years ago when we had the platform only, the teleconference platform. We didn't know if each other was on, so we had to use that to say welcome. Assalamu alaikum, business scientists. Welcome back to another episode of Mind and Money Matters live show. As we conclude the, sorry, we will correct it. It is the Ministry of Justice. The Ministry of Justice. We've had some dynamic, erudite guests this month. We would say those that are dealing with justice and all of those components of the Ministry of Justice. So, big one. So I need all of you that are watching right now, just hit the share button. That's all you got to do. Just hit the share button. Let others know what's about to come down. I have some of the most brilliant legal minds among us that are taking time out of their super busy schedules. If you're in the entertainment business, if you're in the sports business, if you any legal matters that you're having, you want to hear our guests this evening. Plus, in the United States, the top legal person in the United States is called the Attorney General. Guess what? We have a very similar position in the Nation of Islam, albeit a whole lot more righteous than what we have to deal with in this country. So you want to hear from the General Counsel. He'll be joining us momentarily. So hit the share button, call up some friends, let them know that Mind and Money Matters live show now live. Sister Sandy is here, operating, doing what she does best, and you're about to hear from her as well as those brilliant lead minds. Okay, real quick, final call. Final Call Digital. You know it, finalcall.com. Look, I usually hold for Final Call, so pretend I have the latest issue of the Final Call in front of me. I had some copies. I'm coming through the airport, minding my own business. I'm trying to think about getting through security. And so I got the Final Calls in my hand, and there was a couple of folks, they looking at me like, hey, brother, don't you want to, aren't you supposed to be selling those? Brother, can I get a Final Call? I want to say, man, I need these, this is allocated to something else. But those are a few people, their desire to get the Final Call newspaper. So I got the current issue from me. You can go to finalcall.com and see some of the dynamic articles that are available, as well as you can subscribe to Final Call Digital.com so you can get it electronically every week. That's not like it'll come out tonight if you subscribe to every issue. The new issue comes out every Tuesday. So Final Call. Then of course, there we go, in defense of Farrakhan. Yes,
that's right.
We have some of his greatest defenders. Yeah, we have some of his greatest defenders that will be on tonight. So that's why you want to, again, hit that share button. If you're watching by Facebook Live, if you're watching through the Zoom app, share that app number with someone else. ID number 705-498-383. If you have the Zoom app, they can listen in just by pushing the ID number 705-498-383. So, economicblueprint.org, economicblueprint.org, 5 cents a day, 35 cents a week, $1.40 a month. That's all that's asked of 16 million of us, and that will give us $291,200,000 on a yearly basis so that we can buy the land. Let me be very clear about that. So, because we've had some comments, and we appreciate your comments. We understand where you're coming from. But everything that is produced comes from the land. So that's the goal of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, is to purchase the land, and then all of these other things are byproducts of the land that we must purchase. See, Sister Shereen and Sister Sandy know why I keep saying that. But again, we thank you. We understand for those that sent the comments. Thank you for your comments. And yes, once we purchase the land, then we can extract those other things. So economicblueprint.org, and also those in the Atlanta metropolitan area who are looking for employment, looking to increase their family's bottom line through employment. We have immediate jobs available in some areas, and we have projects coming up very, very soon. So go to Atlanta or email me at Atlanta, ATLANTA, jobs, JOBS, 2019 at gmail.com. I just need your name and contact number, and I will give you a call back. But they're customer service jobs, they're landscaping jobs, they're security, crowd control jobs that are immediately hiring. So email us at Atlanta Jobs, JOBS, the whole word Atlanta, JOBS 2019 at gmail.com. And I want to thank Reverend Reginald Howard of Truth and Transformation Ministries in College Park for inviting me to speak at their growing ministry yesterday. I had a ball. Sister Sandy, I think I told you, I talked about accept your own and be yourself. Yes. Accept your own and be yourself. And the subtitle was Overcoming Unpropitious Willow.
Woo! So, I know it was powerful, Brother Jaheed.
So everyone was taking out their notepad. Look. Now you.
No, he actually had a comedy show, Sister Sandy. it was. I had the privilege of hearing a little bit of it. It was like, it was a comedy show. He had them out there, he's cracking up. I don't know if they got the message, but they definitely felt good.
Yes. Look, I'm starting.
Right. You know how we are. As long as you can have us laugh and learn at the same time, we get it.
Oh, they walked away with at least 5 new words. Logo file. So we started a society of logo files. So they were like, logo file. So a couple of people came up to me afterwards. It's like, I wonder if there was a word for that. I love words too. So we started Logo File Society. Then of course, Unpropitious Willow. And there was a few other words that I was inspired to say, and we defined all the words. We made sure we cleared all the words, so no one was left. Well, I did use one word, and a sister came up to me afterwards. She said, "I was trying to write it down, but I didn't understand what you said. What's that word?" So it was antithetical. So So they left. We had a ball, though. I want to again thank the congregation of Truth and Transformation Ministries in College Park, Georgia. They always bring in, and I was honored because they've had some, luminaries, some great dignitaries that have spoken from that platform. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, Professor James Smalls, Dick Gregory, Professor Griff. Mrs. Elizabeth Omalami just recently, Dr. Patricia Newton, Dr. Charles Finch, all those dynamic researchers in our community and luminaries in their respective fields. So for me to get the call to share that platform, to come behind on that platform, I was truly grateful.
Yes, indeed. So y'all know that us here on Mind and Money Show, we take a few minutes out of our schedule to bring you all of this phenomenalness, so that you know, because worldwide, y'all.
That's right. As you see in the background, I'm about to jump on one of these birds now to go handle some business. That's it from Follow Our Worldwide Word on the Street. We can't wait to get to our illustrious guests. And we've had a ball. I wish you all can tune in to our 5-minute test runs on Sundays. Those are very informative. Like last week with Sister Pamela. Oh my God. Look, Sister Sandy, you missed it, but our 5-minute test run was 2 hours and 15 minutes.
It always is. I'm telling you.
Because they were dropping some straight knowledge and science. So we may have to start letting people in on the 5-minute test run.
At least little snippets of it.
Yes, and then last night we had a dynamic time with Brother Arif Muhammad. Oh my God, it was. But
And Sister Sandy, we were still on the phone as his phone is breaking up. We were still on the phone saying, I'm like, brother, we got to get you on the line. I mean, he was dropping it. He was dropping it. If I could have taken notes in that moment to make sure, I'm gonna make inshallah that would be covered again today.
Praise be to Allah.
Yesterday, absolutely, because
so let's bring on
for our
yes, sir. So let's bring on our ergo kinesiologist.
Oh, okay, you coming through? Go ahead.
Okay. About to bring ergo.
Let me bring her, Brother Jahi, because you're breaking up. So Brother Jahi wants to, he has the task of bringing up our co-host, our dear sister. And I normally don't have all three of us on at the same time, but since Brother Jahi is at the airport and he has interference with his feed, we're going to make sure that all of us can jump in at any given time to cover down. But our dear sister Sandy Buford Muhammad, she is the founder and CEO of what we refer to. I'm gonna bring it up. Our Soul Wisdom International. I mean, this is an entity that helps to keep our minds right. I know some of us are asking, like, how do we deal with the mental stress of life and run a business, and we have a side job, because we know our audience is primarily those who have side or we are operating a business on the side, or we have a job on the side. We still, in a way, we are still making, ends meet. Now, Brother Jahi and Sister Sandy are full-fledged business owners for over 2 decades. They running into 3 decades of being business owners, so they're the experienced one, and I represent that sidepreneur. But I did, Sister Sandy Buford Muhammad, she represents that part of us that make sure the mind is together. She's building the human spirit through the mind of your business. That means all that is your business. She's making sure that spirit is keeping it together. So let's bring her on up. Our dear sister Sandy Buford Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace be unto you. Ashe, namaste, hotem. What's up? Wow. And if y'all know of another one that I can add to that list, please make sure you check us out as we are live and just hit us a text message, because I want to include all of that. I want to speak on your level. Thank you so much for joining us today. Oh my God. So we have a phenomenal show lined up for you. The first thing that I do want to do is I want to read something off to you, because this show that we come to you live every single day, we are honored to come to you live. We provide so much information. We have so many different guests from all different types of walk, from all different types of expertise. So we want to share with you these statements. Statements or show topics are not necessarily the beliefs of Mind and Money live show. The material provided by Mind and Money Matters show is for educational purposes only. Mind and Money Matters live show does not warrant or guarantee the accuracy, the adequacy, the quality, validity, completeness, or suitability of any information for any purpose. Listener is encouraged to do their own research. Okay, now we got that out of the way. Let me tell you what's happening up in Soul Wisdom International's corner. So we just we launched the information about the Reiki classes, and November class, as I mentioned last week, is all filled up. But guess what? You don't have to miss out. Please come join us in December. The 3rd weekend in December on that Sunday, you can register for that class. I did a private training this past weekend, and oh my God, the results from that particular class is phenomenal. And it was instantaneous energy moving in the person's life, in the people who were their lives. Phenomenal. I'm so excited about this. You would want to be a part of this if you're interested in learning about energy and how energy moves. Energy is in every single thing. So I'm really, really excited about that. I want you to also know that I will be on another radio show as a guest this evening starting at 9 p.m. And you can tune in, and it's 104.5. It's a gospel radio. That's FM 104.5 FM and 1120 AM at the Gospel Radio program right out of Douglasville. So as soon as I finish up here today, I'm going to be running off and doing an appearance there on their show, talking about what we love to talk about, which is your mental stability, your mental health, how to move forward in life, being the best you that you can possibly be. And remember as well, make sure you go to Soul Wisdom INTL on Facebook. Every Wednesday, I'm doing and bringing to you Sandy's Wednesday Corner. The reception to this, I've been doing it for a few months now. The reception is just phenomenal. It's amazing. The numbers are growing. I'm getting feedback. I'm getting questions. I'm answering questions. I'm giving you insight about life. Just some things to think about, how to get you over that hump day in the middle of the week, telling you that you can do it. You can do it. So that's what's happening in my corner. Of course, as Brother Jahi always say, we are representing the Ministry of Trade and Commerce, which is all about utilizing the skills that we have and bartering services, utilizing the skills that we have to expand and work together and pool our resources. And we are excited to be representing that ministry in the Nation of Islam. So that's enough for me, you all. Let me share something with you. So you see the beautiful lady that starts our program every single week, unless she is on her mini travel. She traveled the world too. The only time you won't see her opening up for us is if she is traveling the country, which she quite regularly does. And she's talking about this passion that she has for the youth. She's talking about this passion that she has with building businesses. So I want to share a little bit about who this beautiful person is. She is of more awareness now. She has more awareness now, Man Up, which you saw most times on our intro. You see her advertisement, Man Up with more awareness now. It didn't play today, so I want to give her a little bit of justice about who she is and what it is that she does. She assists all of her clients with identifying their interests, their dreams, their goals, to develop an actualization plan, an actualization plan. That's a mouthful for you. She collaborates with businesses, planners, programmers, directors, and image consultants to complete the package. Man Up works with individuals, parents, and youth. She is a graduate, she's a professional school counselor, y'all. I love it, love it. She graduated from the University of West Georgia. She also went to Argosy University in Atlanta. She does public speaking. She also does training. She loves the area of psychotherapy. Now, she always talk about me working with the mind. This sister really knows how to work with the mind. She specializes with youth. And I have seen her in action with them. We had a guest a couple of weeks ago that was ranting and raving about how the children love her. And she knows that the children love her, so she decided to start authoring children's books. I love it. And I think the reason why she did that is because she, in fact, is a child at heart. I love her. She is my business partner. She is my friend. She is my sister, our beloved sister, Shireen Muhammad.
Wow. All praises due to Allah. I was not expecting that, y'all. She actually read, I mean, that sounds like my resume on a little bit. But anyway, I was not expecting that. Thank you, Sister Sandy. May Allah continue to bless us. Praise be to Allah. You know, I just want to give us the tip for today, which is professionalism. I want to ensure that we understand that when we are building a business mindset, that we must be professional in character. We must be professional and our actions, our spirit, our methods, the methods that we choose to use. And, you know, some of us, you know, may be hesitant because we feel like, I don't really know business. I'm not really sure. You know, we have this fear that we have to deal with. And that only goes away until we actually get started. When you get started doing something, you begin to learn about it. And the more you do it, the more you learn. Just be professional, be distinguished, make sure that whatever it is that you are attempting to do, that you become knowledgeable in that area. As Sister Sandy mentioned, you know, I am a children's book author. I also have been a professional counselor for the past 21 years. So that is something that I do and love to do. But actually, the reason why I began authoring children books is because it's been a divine instruction. You know, I've been working with adolescents. I work with the ages of 14 to 21. And Allah just kept telling me, focus on the children. I'm having like, how dare I, you know, go back and forth with Allah. And some of you have that. You hear that voice and you get up from prayer, you know, and you hear the voice telling you to focus on whatever that is or to do whatever. Listen to the voice. So I'm going back and forth with Allah. You know, I am one of those hard-headed, stiff-necked, and rebellious individuals. So I had to like have this conversation with Allah, asking him, what are you talking about? I really am working with the children. I don't get it. I don't understand, you know, and I try to be as respectful as possible because I really did not understand. And I just kept hearing the voice, you know, focus on the children. That's all I got. And so when I began to focus on the children and it led me to doing children books, then I stopped hearing that voice, like, you know, just continue. So I'm continuing on that path. And one of our guests today I have a surprise for you with that one, because she just shared with me earlier this morning about some things she's doing with her son that is just absolutely exhilarating. So I'm looking forward to bringing up our next guest. You see Little Sweet Khadijah's. This is the next book that's coming out, inshallah, mid-November. She was expected to come out by Holy Day of Atonement, but there have been some delays. And so, inshallah, she'll be out mid-November. The book is actually finished, which is, you know, having to do the things that happens with business to get the book out. But Little Sweet Khadijah will be out. You can go to www.agrichild.com. They are defenders of agriculture, just following the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in driving out or encouraging our young people to focus on agriculture and buying land and growing our own food and working cheerfully and fearing not. So we can bring up our dear Sister Barbara, Sister Sandy.
Absolutely. I am honored. Oh my goodness. This sister here, y'all, she has been knowing me since I was a little itty bitty little something. She is indeed like my second mom. I tell you. And God forbid anything happened to my natural mom, she would be the first mother that I would go to. No disrespect to all of my other mothers around, but she and her husband are truly, Brother Eric, are dear to my heart. So I have the privilege of being able to work with her. We at Master the Science of Business and Mind Money Matters radio show have the privilege during the month of Law and Justice to have her every Monday with us. Let me tell y'all, the phenomenal guest that we've had on this show is due to our beloved Sister Barbara Hershey Muhammad. She is an attorney, and she gave us a little history about how she got into the practice of law. It was not her first choice. And it's so interesting that most of our attorneys who have come on the show this month have said it wasn't quite my first choice. Like Sister beloved Dr. Ava last week said, somebody that I passed at school said, you should go to be an attorney. And she was like, okay. Sister Barbara was like, if I didn't get in this school, then I was going to go to this school. And I'm telling you, it was Allah. This is Allah guiding me.
It was.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is Allah guiding these beautiful women in the Nation of Islam. All of the sisters are not in the Nation of Islam, But those who we have on the show today are in the Nation of Islam, and we are honored. We are honored to have such a beautiful soul who is a cancer survivor. She has survived that nasty little thing that they say take us out. Well, you have living proof that with prayer, with fasting, with how to eat to live, with smiling, with being good to people, with thinking right, you have a phenomenal example of a sister who's with us today, and she is celebrated. There's a big celebration that's going on here in Atlanta for her cancer survival. And we know her as the people's attorney, the real people's attorney, not none of that Memorex stuff that you see on television.
That's
and people
right.
saying we for the people. No, they for they people. This sister right here, she for real for the people. Our love for her is extensive, and we are grateful to have her on the show with us. Welcome, beloved sister, Dr. Barbara Pershay Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum.
You're live, beloved. Walaikum salam.
It's my pleasure to be on the show with all of you. It's such a wonderful show. I really enjoy it. And as far as surviving cancer, Sister Ava was the first one. She was my role model in helping me to get through it. She had breast cancer before I did. So
yeah, you mentioned that last week. Yes.
Yeah, so because she survived it, I knew I could survive it.
Praise be to Allah. That's an example of example. And, and benefiting from that example that is being set. So praise be to Allah.
And also, Sister Sandy, I just want to say I love you so much and your whole family. I have known you all forever. Beautiful, beautiful people. And may Allah continue to bless all of you. And I love being around you.
Because she's that energy, right? She lifts you up.
She is. And she's just a beautiful person.
So we're gonna go right our next one.
No, I just wanted to say I'm a reflection of both of my co-hosts, because I could not do this without the two of them. That's for sure.
Yeah, they're awesome. They both are awesome.
Yes, they are. Sister Shireen, you want us to go into our first guest?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sister Barbara, you want to bring up any one of the guests? Brother Athill.
Okay, brother Athill. I didn't get his resume.
Okay.
I'll read it on. Want me to read it on, Sister Shireen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, praise be to Allah. And Sister Barbara, once I finish with this, then you can add anything that you know personally about him to make it even more interesting.
Okay.
Brother, yes, ma'am, thank you. Brother Athill was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, where he graduated from Edward R. Murrow High School. He attended Lincoln University, the premier historically Black college in Chester County, Pennsylvania, where he earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in politics science. He then entered the graduate program at the University of the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., in the discipline of urban policy. His lifelong dream was to become an attorney, and in December 2001, he proudly earned the Doctorate of Jurisprudence from Texas Southern University's Thurgood Marshall School of Law. There we go, y'all. There's Texas in the house again. Since licensing, I'm telling you, since licensing, he has devoted his law practice in the endeavors of discrimination, civil rights, and the representation of persons accused of crime. You know who he represents, don't you? We love him. He is licensed in the state of Texas and in the United States District Court for both the Eastern and Southern Districts, as well as the Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit. He has tried, that means he's been on trial, with those who have primarily been involved in litigation involving federal death penalty cases, police misconduct and civil rights violations, and discrimination matters that have taken arguments and petitions to the United States Supreme Court. That's huge, y'all. If y'all don't know, maybe we'll have an opportunity for him to explain what that means. His love and devotion to the practice of law is credited to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Brother Abdul Arif Muhammad, the Nation of Islam's General Counsel, former U.S. Congressman, the Honorable Craig A. Washington, and his proud West Indian heritage. He attributes all of his successes, now or and in the future, to his faith and belief in Allah, to whom all praises are due forever. Anything you'd like to add?
No, I'm surprised. I didn't know that he was from Brooklyn.
Because
I met him.
This is a native New Yorker's land.
Yeah, because I met him in D.C. and I thought he was from D.C.
Oh, heavens, look, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Welcome to Master the Science of Business, Mind and Money Matters live show.
Assalamu alaikum, family.
Wa alaikum salam.
Can y'all see me? I look pretty dark.
Yes, you do.
I do look dark. Y'all can see me.
Yes, sir, you do. You do look a little dark, sir.
We can't see your beautiful face.
Oh, dear. Well, I'm going to blame sisters and all this computer technology. I thought I had a good location.
Don't blame me. Don't. Even though I'll take the credit. Next time I'll send out a lamp so that.
All right. And I have a couple of lamps on. I thought, I don't know, maybe it's just
maybe if you open the blinds, we'll see you. I'm not sure.
Let me try that right quick. Give me one moment, family.
Not a problem. And then we can
close the blind behind him. That will solve the problem.
Oh, close the blind behind him.
Yes.
Oh, Brother Eric, our technician, our behind the scenes, across the borders technician, got Sister Barbara looking absolutely fabulous.
Oh boy!
Praise be to Allah.
Is it closing? Oh, okay, that might help a little. Okay. Okay, see him.
Do we look?
You did not close it.
Do we look any better?
Yeah, no, he said to close it. I'm not sure if the light is on in the room, but in the meantime, Sister Sandy, we could keep it moving.
Do we look any better, family?
No, because you got the light in the background.
Everything now.
That gives you what you call a silhouette.
Do we look any better?
No, close the window. Close the blind.
Close the blind.
Okay, now we'll close the blind now. Okay.
Completely.
All right.
Completely.
Hold on.
Oh, we saw him.
Yes.
I think it's the way he's sitting. Yeah, that's better.
All right. I think
That's better.
I apologize, family. Let me just do this. I'll get out of the chair and bend down. All right, how do we look now? You look a little bit better.
Better.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay. Thank you for your indulgence, family. Now, no, I don't have anything else to add from that, from what Sister Barbara and everyone had said. No, Sister Barbara, I'm from Brooklyn. And so just as was already said, we have New York representing here.
Yes. All right.
Okay, excellent. Praise be to Allah. So, brother, is it Athill or Athill?
Athill.
Athill. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's make sure I was saying it correctly.
Yes, ma'am.
Wanted to see if we can find out from you what motivated you to get into the field of law.
Well, in truth, it was unlike Sister Ava said, and unlike and Sister Barbara, it has been my lifelong dream to do so, to be in the area, to practice law. In fact, Sister Barbara may remember there was a judge in New York, Judge Bruce Wright,
Oh, yes.
and who was known as Turn 'em Loose Bruce. Back when I was a child, there was this case that a gentleman had been accused of slashing a police officer, I believe it was in Harlem. And this police officer had gotten about 40 some odd stitches.
Wow.
The New York City Police Department had arrested this black man, and he had gone in front of Bruce Wright, His Honor Wright, I should say. And as it turned out, Bruce Wright let him out on his own recognizance. I, of course, didn't know what that meant. I was probably about 12 years old at the time, maybe not even that old. And at the time, then Mayor Koch and all of New York's political persons in leadership, termed Bruce Wright as, turn him loose, Bruce, and, really lambasted him throughout the New York press and media. As it turned out, the gentleman who they arrested was actually a student at Columbia University, was not the person who was guilty of committing that crime. And from then on, that just intrigued me, and understanding that there had been, a complete disparate treatment between the way that we were treated in the court systems and, and reality is what it amounted to. And so that was my thrust, and it never died. Of course, as finally got to the point where I was fortunate enough to get into law school in 1998, after so many years of working along with our then Supreme Captain of the Nation of Islam in Washington D.C. and New York, and finally saw fit that we got the opportunity to get to law school and never look back.
Excellent, excellent. So you were inspired by injustice, and that.
Oh, no question. Yes, ma'am. By all means.
Right. And that injustice fed you through the process as you went through trials and tribulations. Because I know many of us, embark on an endeavor, and sometimes we are maybe taken off course because of a trial.
Yes, ma'am.
When you focus on that passion, you focus on that which you what you believe in strongly, that overrides the difficulty and gets you through. So are you in fact, with the things that you're practicing now, how did you actually get to that? Because I know I'm sure you went to an undergrad and
yes.
then did you go directly to law school, or was there any stops along the way?
No, well, my path actually, we finished undergrad in May of 1985.
Okay.
And then I moved to DC and worked along with the Tape Connection, who, Minister Sharif at the time, when he was in DC as our captain in DC. He had Tape Connection in Washington, D.C., and I worked along with that, as well as one of the administrators for NOI Security. And, done a number of things with the mosque in Washington, D.C., and then been fortunate enough to finally, decide that, I'll apply to law school, and we finally got accepted. Well, it wasn't a bad thing. We applied to one school, was accepted, and in fact, Brother Arif and Sister Ava, and even Sister Barbara have written glowing letters of recommendation for me to get into Texas Southern University.
Oh, praise to Allah, yes.
Fortunate to have been accepted and move forward all along. So I was probably out of school for about 13 years, from undergraduate to law school. But along the way, I did do some studies at the University of District of Columbia in the area of urban policy. Probably about maybe 12 or 15 hours of credit there. But that was not my passion as far as getting a master's degree. The passion had always been, and the direction was always law school.
So what was your most exciting moment in practicing law? Was it getting the degree itself, or actually a case that just gave you the biggest exhilaration?
Well, it's interesting. I was wondering if that was going to be a question. And in fact, it actually was a few years ago. I was representing this young man who had been accused of violating probation.
Okay.
He had been found guilty. I wasn't his attorney at the trial. Not that that matters in regard, but he was traveling through, I recall, Houston, Texas, as I understood the facts of the trial, and had been arrested for possession of a drug charge. And had gone to trial and was found guilty. The judge then had sentenced him, probated the sentence for 10 years. The young man was from New Orleans, had no ties whatsoever to Houston. In fact, as it turned out, after about 2 years of him being homeless and everything, he went back to New Orleans. His mother was suffering on her deathbed, literally. As it turned out, he was in New Orleans for about 2 years, had been arrested in New Orleans on a traffic violation, extradited then back here to Houston because they then, when they ran his information, they saw that he was on probation and was an absconder. He then had come to the office, and as it turned out, our argument was never that he did not leave the state of Texas without permission. Naturally, he did, because his probation officer testified, and the documents were that he wasn't reporting at all. But as it turned out, we were successful in getting his probation continued because it was, I guess, the passion that we had and explaining exactly what it was through testimony with his mother and everything, and his grandmother and other and siblings. And we were able to, they wanted to throw him in jail for 10 years is what it amounted to, even though he had been already been on probation. But that probably was the most exhilarating because it was more passion-based. As I tell people, when you're dealing with somebody who is accused of violating probation or parole, oftentimes it's more the argument, how you base your argument, unless, of course, the person didn't do it. But when you have circumstances and facts suggesting that, yes, he did violate, that doesn't necessarily mean that the probation or parole is revoked. And by Allah's grace and permission, we were able to present character and fact issues that actually showed that this young man was indeed, responsive to his mother, to his grandparent, to his grandmother, but particularly his mother, who was on her deathbed. And that was the main reason. And I guess, Allah blessed us to me to have that passion and understanding, that which we were able to, show in front of the judge. I think the hearing was about 3 hours, 3 hour long hearing. But that was probably the most exhilarating. And, sometimes, as the poem Invictus states, your head is bloodied, but yet unbowed. And that was one of those things where my head then was not bowed, because by Allah's grace and permission, we were successful in having him being returned home. And in fact, after that, we were actually successful in having his probation transferred from Houston, Harris County to New Orleans, which is, if people know this area, about 6-8 hour drive. So, it was even more prudent to have him, home, as opposed to, him continuing to be homeless here on the streets of Houston.
Excellent, excellent. Now you still have a smile on your face, and you mentioned graduating undergrad in 1985. How long have you been practicing law?
We began practicing in 2003, so this would be our 15th year of practicing. We've been, fortunate enough to be in 15 years now.
So you would say that you are in your chosen profession?
Oh, no doubt. Oh, there's no doubt about that. I there's a saying that I learned. I think Sister Barbara mentioned it at one point, and Brother Arif may have mentioned it to me at one point as well. And I know Sister Pamela has, that I'm one who, in truth, would hope that I die on the courtroom floor. Maybe not the actual courtroom floor, but, doing something, legally, that if I'm reading a case and preparing for something, that, if Allah calls me home, let it be something like that, because that's the only, that's what I, would like to do. And people put on my tombstone or headstone, if I'm fortunate enough to get one, that people say, okay, well, he loved being an attorney and trying to make a difference for the persons in whom he represented.
Okay, excellent. The last question I'm going to ask you before bringing up our next guest, and this has to deal with overcoming. you know, how did you overcome? Because we know that in any endeavor, there's always trials, there's always tribulations, there's always that moment of making a decision. Do I stay with this? Do I leave it? You know, and you don't have to share unless you want to what that was, but how did you overcome and be in the number of the steadfast?
Well, I you know, I would probably say it's what Brother Arif taught me when I first got licensed. He said, Athill, don't look at it from the standpoint of, you know, that you won a case or that you lost a case. You know, he taught me a long time, you know, when we began practicing, that we don't create the facts of situations. We just, you know, we argue the facts as they're presented to us. He told me just the best way to do it is to, if you gain a victory, if you will, that look at it that the decision was in your favor. And if the decision is not in your favor, look at it that the decision was not in your favor. And not being too high or too low of, you know, based on a decision or something like that, that has enabled me to continue on. And, you know, every knock is a boost, and sometimes every boost may be considered a knock, but it keeps you even. And in truth, again, being able to rely on and contact Sister Barbara and Brother Arif for counsel, Sister Tiffany, Sister Kiana, you know, all of the other attorneys in the Nation of Islam, you know, and we can share war stories and those different things. That indeed has been able to, you know, me continue on. Yeah, sometimes you get discouraged, you know, when you do get a decision, and sometimes you represent people who might have unrealistic expectations. But, you know, as I said, just in relying on Allah and my faith in Allah, and in listening to the minister and knowing that we have so much work to do, that is the driving force there.
Okay, excellent. Brother Jahi, do you have a question, Sister Sandy?
Let's see, Brother Jahi, I'll let him go first. You know I have a question, but I'm going to let my beloved Brother Jahi go if he has a question. All right, so he may be moving about there in the airport. I have a question, and the question that came up to me, I want to ask, because I'm a court reporter. I've been a court reporter for 20 years, and yes, I'm only 20 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to ask you this question because I see it. I see the passion with those of attorneys of color, specifically in the court, pleading the cases of so many of our underprivileged, underserved people. I wanted to ask this question. I hadn't had a chance to ask it yet, but it just came to me. With relation to how the Honorable Minister Farrakhan tells us about how we have to separate, right?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you feel, and how do you move past the understanding that you had to learn a law that was like the King's Law, and you're having to represent those who the law does not really represent? However, you have to curve it in such a way that it represents them. How do you find that balance with moving according to the law and understanding that the law is not made for us? If I'm making myself clear in that question.
You do, and in truth, ma'am, that actually is the thrust of another thrust, if you will, of what keeps me going. Because as Sister Pamela will tell you, she and I have countless discussions about this, that is the motivating factor, that or a motivating factor that I have, in that I know that, you know, that there is a difference there. And so I represent people, and I, you know, from that standpoint, for instance, I tell people, you know, as we, you know, if it's a criminal person who's accused of a crime that I'm representing, particularly, I let him or her know, you know, forget that stuff that we hear and that you read, that the law is impartial and all of that. What I just consider, you know, foolishness. I tell them, look, understand that when we go in that courtroom, the judge, the bailiffs, the clerks, the prosecuting attorney, the jury, they all have their predispositions and prejudices about you, and there is no impartiality. So as Brother Sharif always taught us, when he was a captain in DC and a supreme captain, when you know, you have the advantage. And I use that to the point of when I tell people that I'm representing, if we know that the law is against us, that the judges are against us, and I tell people, make no mistake about it. Particularly your state judges, a lot of them are former prosecutors, and so it's like how people will say, okay, well, you have to check your opinions at the door. Well, how are you going to tell somebody, that you've been raised and you believe in a particular thing? Now, all of a sudden, when you get into the courtroom as a juror or as a judge, as a prosecutor, all of a sudden, that you're supposed to be impartial. So I tell people, debunk that thought. And when we go into the courts, and I go into the courts with that belief and thought and feeling, I think, then, I'm not caught, if you will, with my guard down. And, and I tell people too, that even if you have a black judge, who is on the bench, don't necessarily, or at least I don't necessarily think and feel that, okay, we're going to get a fair trial. The only thing that I tell people is, at least, and I'm going to use this phrase, at least when I go into a black judge's courtroom, I don't think that the judge is going to say, well, who's this nigger coming in thinking he's, a lawyer? In that regard, that's when, if I'm in front of a black judge, I get that feeling that that's not going to be the case. But aside from everything else, I still am looking at it that we cannot be so naive to think that, the judge, that the law is impartial, and you have the what's that, Sister Barbara? The with the blindfold on, the symbol of justice has a blindfold on. No, I say sometimes if you ever put a stocking cap over your eyes, you can still see through it. That's how I look at it.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that response.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're going to bring up our dear sister Tiffany Boyd Muhammad. She is a sports and entertainment lawyer as well as an immigration lawyer. Oh my God, this is like I'm trying to figure out how these things intertwine. Sports and entertainment, and then immigration. So I'm gonna let her speak about that. But she is destined to be working with some of the most talented, most notable entertainers in the entertainment field. She is a mother as well. She shared with me some books that her and her son have published, and I'm just like, wow. I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. If I don't get to put it on the screen back here before the show is over, she would at least be able to hold up a copy of that book so you all can see it and share with you how you can get it. But oh my God, the personality that they chose to highlight in this book, I can't wait for her to share it with you. She is in litigation. She does litigation and prestigious law firms across the country. Sister Boyd Muhammad, Sister Dr. Boyd Muhammad often consults with many other lawyers, so she has the support. She rests on the shoulders of those like Brother Athill, Brother Arif, Sister Barbara, Sister Ava, and all those other seasoned lawyers in the Nation of Islam and without, who support her in her efforts as she steps into this arena of law, the ministry of law. Sister Dr. Tiffany Boyd Muhammad, welcome to Master the Science of Business, Mind and Money Matters live show. Wa alaikum salam. We are not hearing you.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, we hear you lightly.
Lightly?
Yeah, there you go.
There
We heard that. We heard lightly.
I'm gonna disappear because I'm gonna close the window. 1 second.
You actually look great. Yeah.
How about that? Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you all, Sister Barbara, the brother, sister. Thank you so much for inviting me. It is such a great, great pleasure. I want to open up in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful.
Praise
there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. Thank you so much for inviting me again. I want to give a little intro because I believe I didn't maybe give you my bio, but because mine is really important in regards to my start. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah. Praise Allah. Okay, so I am from Phoenix, Arizona.
Yes, ma'am.
I was reared in Phoenix, Arizona, and I was born from a family with a business. So day one, I always saw the operation of a business. So that gave me a sense of, okay, that's the normalcy. You know, you should function with a business. They had jobs too, so it was like dual. But my family owned the black newspaper in Arizona for 47 years now. Dated now.
Wow.
And my grandfather, he was the first black state senator. So just seeing his service and the respect in the community, I knew I wanted to do that. So some kind of way, I believe I identified that as maybe he was an attorney at a young age. So I thought, well, that's what I'm gonna do because I want to be like granddad. So just growing up in Phoenix, Arizona, Arizona's about 5% black. So, however, again, with this type of family, I was always in a black environment. Always. Okay. So, with that being said, I was vested. I knew I would be going to college. Most of my family members had, some had doctorate degrees, education is normal. And my grandmother was from Houston, Texas, so it only made sense to go to Texas Southern University, the school Brother Athill, Brother Warren, and others in Houston, Texas attended. So with that being said, I would have to admit that I did accept Islam. Luckily, I was blessed at a young age of 15. So it was kind of a, not want to say a fad or a trend, but it was the culture of 1991, 92, the minister's grandchildren in and out of my high school. So I knew, like, okay, what's this? So I do remember particularly, very importantly, my dad gave me a cassette. It was the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan doing a Savior's Day. I don't know if it was 91, 92, but I remember what he said in the address that caught my attention later in law school. But he said specifically, he was talking to Mr. Hollywood. He said, Mr. Hollywood, we're sick of this relationship. These are my words I'm framing. But he was saying essentially that we're not going to just be the tenant and you the landlord. We're not just going to be, basically the talent, but you always the lawyer. We're going to, we're sick of that. So that kind of stuck with me. So anyway, long story short, I thank Allah, I got my focus. When I got Islam at the age of 15, I turned from a CD student to a A student. I was able to excel and graduate out of high school early, only because I read Message to the Black Man, and it gave me that fulfillment and that I could do this since.
Wow.
Literally, that's the only reason, because before you asked me if I read a book and education wasn't important. So anyway, thank Allah for receiving the teachings at such a young age. It guided me. So I was there on campus, but I wasn't at the mosque yet, but I had my, I always play around with, I had a Farrakhan t-shirt. It's amazing. I just didn't have it. But anyway, eventually I met some brothers. I got to the mosque, and I would just say my whole career, my life, has just been guided, and I'm so thankful. So back to my law path, I did complete the 4 years undergrad. It was fairly simple. Again, I was super focused. I found the mosque. I joined. I accepted at the age of 19. I was
wow.
Yeah, so, and they had a law school there, so why change up? So I did, I was blessed. That's when I met Brother Athill, very early on, and I was able to matriculate through the law school. But at the same time, I always had an interest in business, and I had no interest in like helping civil corporations, take money, and I wasn't going to dedicate my life to be a firm where essentially that was the result. I wasn't going to. That wasn't interesting. So I had to talk back with what the minister says. And I'm like, my grandfather always told me about the golden goat. He said, who has the gold, they're going to win. So I thought, well, wait a minute, if there's so much money in sports entertainment that he said that there are natural resources. That's what the minister said, that the athletes and the entertainers and just that industry, it's our natural resource. And then that's what I knew, like I want to do that. So essentially, also this book right here kind of also gave me the fundamentals. I don't know if you can see it.
There you go. Excellent.
Yeah, Sister Ava, I think that was Sister Ava and Attorney Arif. This book is foundation for what I feel like is a guide to help me guide through, because we know who owns the sports and entertainment world. That's a Jewish-run industry from day one. Right. So anyway, so that's kind of a quick taste of what I how I got to realize that this is what I want to do. So what we do, my firm is TBM Law Group. We are a multi-services firm where our focus is to help quality and customize corporations and individuals in the sports industry. So it's from films to interactive media. We deal with we're working towards, because it's a relatively new practice for me. I did work corporate somewhat. I had businesses. We'll talk about that in a minute in regards to the education and the books and how I got on the whole literacy advocacy. But dealing with the firm that really I'm launching to deal with all these different avenues that so many of our athletes and entertainers they just don't have the information to give them, to guide them. Because if you don't have a well team leading with that attorney, you definitely going to have some issues in the end. So that's what motivates me. That's where I get my passion from. And I want to share one thing just so you can get the idea. The minister said he had a great example when he talked about R. Kelly. I don't know if you recall Holy Day of Atonement in regards to the song he had mentioned specifically. And he told him, I don't even own, I don't own the rights to, right. I wish, yeah. And that's true so many times. And here's one example of what motivates me to seek this knowledge and this information, this law, not play the game, but to be able to help our artists. I don't know if you all remember Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Yes, ma'am.
The early 1990s. Yes. Just so you be clear on, an example of how knowledge is power. Sir Mix-a-Lot, he was an independent artist. He had an independent label. He had on Broadway. But what he did, that came and went. But what was lasting was he had his publishing and his masters to this one particular song. Now, as we don't really get down like that. But Baby Got Back, if you all recall that song, specifically that song, would you believe, because he owns the rights, the royalties, and the masters, made him $200 million.
Wow.
That's what this type of information, this what it can, if you have your contract and your counsel in these engagements, you can protect yourself and own your rights. And that's exactly what the minister was saying. You turn on different commercials or any advertisement, and you wonder, like, they playing James Brown, the rights to Muhammad Ali, because they don't have them anymore. They own them. You see,
right?
These corporations and film production companies, they're very, very. We know that they were the slave master, right?
Right.
It's not too different. So, yeah. So that's just one example, because I like to find out and research those different examples and just motivate me to try to help these artists, learn more about what can help them in the end.
So if you're an artist, you want this sister on your team. It's just that simple. If you know an artist, those of you who are watching, make sure that you share her information, and we're going to put that information up in just a moment to make sure. But in the meantime, can you share, how can someone get in touch with you if they wanted to get in touch with you for your services?
Yes, so TBM Law Group, telephone number 213-248-2875, or you can email me, feel free, to the tbmlawgroup@gmail.com. So.
And that's tbmlawgroup@gmail.com.
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that, and please stay. But we're gonna bring up our dear brother Arif. Would you like to bring him up, or would Brother Athill like to bring him up?
Brother Sister Tiffany.
Brother Theo.
Yeah, Brother Theo.
All right. Well, this is a brother whom I have known, oh dear, since 1985. He was a graduate of Howard University's law school, was the Mid-Atlantic Regional Minister, based in Washington, D.C., originally from Baltimore, Maryland. My mentor, and I'm so proud to say my friend on many fronts. I could not, even, do the things that I'm doing with our nation without his instruction, direction, and counsel and confidence. Of course, there's many more things I didn't anticipate to have to bring Brother Arif on, but here's our beloved Student General Counsel of the Nation of Islam, Brother Abdul Arif Muhammad.
Welcome, 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 Brother Arif. Wa alaikum salam to the Master of the Science of Business, Mind and Money Matters live show. We are so grateful for you taking time out of your busy schedule to share with us the business of law, how our young people could get into law, some of the things that you experienced along the way. We just want to inspire our young people, those who have had have this passion, have been exposed to incidences in the community or without, that they feel passionate about. Maybe this is the area I should get into. And when we spoke yesterday, you shared some various ways that a law degree can be used that that I would say unorthodox, or not in the traditional manner of just being in a courtroom. Not to belittle that, but some of us just are unaware of the various ways law can be utilized to sustain a living and to fulfill a passion.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
You're suited and booted, sir.
Well, you said I had to be, so I had to be. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, we bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came in the person of Master Father Muhammad, and we forever thank him for the messenger Messiah, the exalted Christ, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and we can never thank them enough for the mercy in our midst, the divine reminder, and the man who was walking in the footsteps of the one you read in the scriptures called Jesus.
That's right.
None other than our beloved minister, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I greet all of you this evening in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
And I wanted to first say how proud I am and appreciative of being on the call with some of our nation's attorneys. Not only is Brother Athill and Sister Barbara and Sister Tiffany lawyers in their own right, but they also have signed up to be a part of our Nation of Islam attorney network. And so they are, in fact, attorneys for our nation. Sister Barbara, certainly, and I have worked together along with Sister Minister and Attorney Ava Muhammad on many, many celebrated cases, which I'm sure we won't have time to get into tonight. But I'm very proud of Sister Tiffany, very proud of Brother Athill, very proud of the Houston team in particular, because they're a powerful group of young professionals down in the Houston area. And so it's my honor to be here. I have somewhat of a little different take because my view of law starts with the precept of seeking justice. I did not see law as it related to a business, but I saw law as a poor boy from the ghetto and seeing the abuses and the injustices that were perpetrated upon Black people, including myself specifically, that I felt that law was my call. And I had an experience at a young age of 19 where I was almost killed by police officers who took me to a secluded area to have me run and shoot me down in cold blood. God blessed me to survive that. But from that, I realized that if you didn't know law, you wouldn't have a chance to fight. So my idea of law came and stemmed from the fight for justice for our people, which led me, of course, right into meeting with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in 1979 and coming into the ministry and then ultimately going to law school. So my approach to law has always been from the vantage point of justice, which the minister has says to us that justice is a principle of fair dealing. It is what distinguishes right from wrong. And this is what we, and what I in particular as General Counsel of the Nation of Islam is involved in with many of the great attorneys who are on this line, that we're fighting for justice for our people.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So the thing that inspired you was that search for justice, knowing that we had no justice, we have no justice, and we are seeking freedom, justice, and equality. All praises due to Allah. All praises due to Allah. Now, how long have you been in the practice of law?
Oh, for 32 years.
Wow. So we are talking to a master here. He's like...
Well, I work for the master.
That's right. That's right.
I am a student, and we continue to learn as we go. But I do want to say, my dear sister, thank you all for this opportunity. That we're taught in the scripture that mischief is framed by means of law. And this is the world that we live in, where law is mischief making. And as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan taught us, they expand the law for whom they please, and then they draw it tightly for whom they please. And when it comes to Black people, the knot is drawn very tightly. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave us a lesson. He said, brother, when you go into the white man's court, know that your responsibility is to make the record. You don't go thinking that you're going to get justice there. Even if you get a decision, it doesn't necessarily mean you get justice. He said, but your job when you go in before the court is to make your record. Do all that you can do to lay the record out. Why? Because God is watching, and God is the ultimate just judge. And so just like in the scriptures, when God sent Moses to Pharaoh, Moses kept denying Pharaoh rather kept denying what Moses said. Then it gave God his reason to do what he had intended to do all along. So we just fight the fight the best we can, and we fight with truth, but we know we don't look for truth or justice from the enemy.
Praise be to Allah. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Brother Dr. Arif, for being on the call with us today. The first question that I wanted to ask is, I've always known that there is a legal team with the Nation of Islam. I am a court reporter here in Atlanta. So one, I want to know, can I be a part of this legal team? Because that's an integral component to what each of you do. That's the first thing. And then the second question is, I asked the question of Brother Athill earlier today. I don't know if you were on the line. And that question was specifically in reference to, we understand that, of course, you touched on it, that the law is not made, it wasn't written to be of a benefit to us, specifically people of color, oppressed people. However, you have to utilize this same law to go in and prove those of color, those who are oppressed. You have to prove they're innocent, and then sometimes give the benefit of the doubt more in your favor than the other's favor. So how do you do that when you go into a legal system that's set up in this manner? How do you prepare yourself? I know you did address that an aspect of that Allah God is in fact indeed your judge. How do you move in a system that's not set up? However, it is for us to defend to the best of our ability the law to prove those who are innocent are indeed innocent. Thank you.
Thank you. It's real simple, sister. When you are going into any fight and you have an opponent, then you have to study to prepare yourself for that opponent. And of course, when you're in a war, you have to have arms, as the Elijah Muhammad teaches, that are equal to or superior to your enemy's arms. Well, in the battle of law, it's your knowledge of the law your knowledge of the nuances of the law, your ability to argue facts based on the law in a superior way to your opponent. Unfortunately, I would say that I practice law more on the federal level. I'm a federal practitioner, and at least on that level, the federal courts, the judges are more, I would say, studied into the nuances of law. As Brother Athill had shared about state court, I quite frankly abhor state courts, and I avoid them at all costs, because a lot of times these judges are very unsophisticated, and you can get very frustrated bringing the most sterling brief and amicus curiae or whatever you want to bring. They are not prepared to handle that. So being prepared, number one. We as Muslims are taught to exercise the greatest of intelligence at all times, and that we ought to represent ourselves excellently. So you get prepared, you go and represent yourself excellently, share the facts according to the law with truth, and then pray Allah that he may touch the heart of the judge, or if you have a jury, the jury, that they may see and that they may be touched to render a ruling that is fair and just. But it's ultimately in the hands of God, and whatever decision he makes is the decision we accept.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you so much for answering that question.
And by the way, get in touch with Brother Athill about, we have a network of lawyers and legal professionals. So get in touch with Brother Athill to get into that network, okay?
Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Glad to know you down there. Court reporting is a valuable tool that we need.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir.
Yes, am I coming through now?
You are, you are.
All praises due to Allah. Before it goes out again, Brother Arif, thank you again so much for taking the time out. You were appointed by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as the Student General Counsel for the Nation of Islam. What does that mean? What does that entail for the listening audience? And number two, the Ministry of Justice. The Ministry of Justice as the national point of contact for it. Those that are watching that would like to be a part of the Ministry of Justice, what are some of the steps that they can take to do that?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Jahi. First of all, as General Counsel for the Nation of Islam, my primary responsibility is to protect legally the Nation of Islam and protect the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And of course, I have always had a practice of trying to make sure that as the General Counsel for the Nation, though I don't personally represent every believer, I do get quite a bit of calls from around the nation and inquiries from believers seeking guidance and knowledge. And I make it a practice never to charge for consultative advice, because I know that you want to be able to talk to someone that you trust, that believe like you believe. But I know that many believers see that office as also an office that they could call to seek advice. And yes, you can. Though we in our legal network try to make sure that if citizens of the nation need an attorney, if there are attorneys that are in our network, like Sister Tiffany, Brother Athill, Sister Pamela, Sister Kiana, Brother Warren, Brother Jimmy, Brother Michael, and a whole host of others, Sister Barbara, then we would try to direct them there if they need specific legal representation. Secondly, relative to the Ministry of Justice, we have a Ministry of Justice website. And so I would ask that if there is an inquiry or a needing direction and information, we have one of our other sister attorneys who manages that website for us, the Nation of Islam Ministry of Justice on Facebook. So the contact information is there, and you can go to that website to post relative to the Ministry of Justice. And I want to say too that we're also refining, because as we're developing the ministries better on a national footing, we are going to be refining the ministries, that we can develop the proper template for not just the Ministry of Justice, but all of our ministries. And this is something that we on the Executive Council, as I'm also blessed to be a member of the Executive Council, that we are wanting to do, so that the believers all over the country, as they develop the ministries, develop them according to a certain template.
Fantastic. And we would definitely love to be a part of that, because that's one of the main reasons for this platform, is to bring and showcase and highlight the 9 ministries that the minister put forth to us. And now, from the business standpoint, this is to all of our panelists. From the business standpoint, we've heard this a lot. Our brother Warren and Sister Kiana out of Houston were on the show a couple of weeks ago, and the idea and the thought came up about a national attorneys register, Nation of Islam attorneys registry. So there's a lot of us looking for that. So what would need to be put in place so that if I know an entertainer and they need to have their contracts looked at before they sign on the dotted line, I know they need to find Sister Tiffany. So anyone have any ideas of how we can put that together? Because it seems like the streets have been calling for it. So we must supply them with what they're looking for. And everybody wants to deal with an attorney from the Nation of Islam because of that trust factor.
Well, inshallah, we are working on that, Brother Jahi, to finish that. That has been in process for some time, and hope is that it will be a post, another segment of the nation's program where any believer that's seeking an attorney can go to their own nation program and see the catalog of the attorneys representing the nation. And the nation's attorneys are also, and we've talked about this a few years, but I think we're at a point now where it has to be launched. We're looking at creating an association, a bar association of our own for the Muslims, so that people can know that there's a Muslim bar association.
Wonderful. Beautiful.
Amen.
We're screaming. Yes. Go ahead, Brother Jahi.
Oh, I'm in the airport dance, so that is absolutely one. Thank you for. As I'm here doing the dance, I don't know if you can you hear me?
Yeah, it's breaking up.
I think okay. All right, wonderful. So that was it for me.
Okay, excellent. Sister Sandy, did you have any additional questions?
I have like a truckload of questions, but
this is our area. You know, when we in education, Mrs. Shireen is on fire. We talking about that's my area. So I know you have a truckload of questions. Go ahead.
Yes, indeed. However, I'm going to be respectful of our time and respectful of our guest time, and just say thank you so much for coming, shedding light into the field of legal law and justice. I wanted to just make sure that our brother Athill leave his contact information if he would like as well, and how those who are interested can stay in contact with him, or make sure we're up to date on what you're doing, speaking engagements, books coming out, whatever that is that you'd like our listeners to be able to stay in contact with you.
Sure. I can be reached via email at amuhammadlaw@att.net. My website is www.yoursearch4justice.com, and the telephone number 713-807-8167. And by Allah's grace and permission, within the next 6 months, we should probably have a document that we've been working on for some time now, entitled From the Shores of Africa to America, our struggle for freedom, justice, and equality under the United States Constitution. I've been working on this for a while now, and the time is now that we get this thing finished. It's probably about 75% finished, and it's a story that has a little mix of, a little entertainment, for lack of a better term. And I don't mean entertainment from Sister Tiffany's standpoint, but I mean, it's like a storytelling, but intertwined in how the law and, the laws that were on the books since we've actually been here on these shores justified slavery, oppression, and the Jim Crow laws. And I think it's certainly I think it's, if I'm tooting my own horn, an interesting writing, and prayerfully it would be something that's interesting for people to read. So hopefully within the next 6 months, we can get that finished and done with. And of course, we would post that on our website and let, our general counsel and the other nation's attorneys know that it's soon coming and when it is here. But again, the telephone number for someone to reach out to me if they are desirous of doing so, 713-807-8167. And again, the email, amuhammadlaw@att.net.
Excellent, excellent. I just wanted to make sure I put your website on the screen so
Yes,
that those of you who are interested in getting in touch with our brother, you can contact him right here. There it is, contact information, and get any information you're looking for at yoursearchforjustice.com, yoursearchforjustice.com. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, my dear.
Sister Tiffany, did you have anything that you would like to share with us and encourage our listening audience to reach you by what means? Oh, I'm sorry. You can continue. You were on mute.
Okay. You can hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sure, absolutely. I gave my number. Again, we focus on quality and customized care for individuals as well as corporations. If you have any agreements, just for example, social media influencers, that's like relatively a new thing. You have so much content out there, but there's different agreements and deliverables and just different things that a person should be aware of that they should secure themselves. So again, 213-248-2875. We could definitely take care of that for you. And tbmlawgroup@gmail.com. Love to hear from you.
Yes, ma'am. Now, do you have your son's book that he co-authored with you? Do you have that there? Yes, we have to show that.
No.
Yes.
So I do. And I want to show one page because it's relevant, pertinent here. We have, I didn't show the title. Most of my close friends, they already know. But for those who don't know, I am a literacy advocate because we do.
And what is the title? Say the title.
Okay, so the title is "My Granddad Refused to Leave the Hood." Right?
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a children's version of his autobiography, his story. But I want to share one other thing that he had up in the office. All the years back in the day, it was his 10 commandments of the hood he created. And thou shalt love thyself. But this one specifically is relevant. It is thou shalt have a black lawyer. So here we are. So definitely. Yes,
that's the commandment. Thou shalt have a black lawyer, huh?
The hood. Yes, ma'am.
Excellent, excellent. I wanted to just mention that because as a professional, and inshallah, we'll have you back on when we have arts and culture, because that falls under arts and culture and as well as education, right? But just being a professional, as a professional, a lawyer, a mom, and how you can juggle all of those hats, as you will, or perform all of those tasks proficiently, professionally, where your child feels that he matters. Many of us become professionals and then our children are off to the side somewhere, but you are co-authoring books with him and, making him a part of the experience of becoming a professional. And how old is he?
He's 12 now.
And
so
he's
the entrepreneurship 101 goes on.
Right. That's right. That's right. That's right. And you mentioned earlier that you come from a business family, and and education in the family was a norm. And so all praise is due to Allah for continuing that legacy for your family. Brother Dr. Abdul Arif Muhammad, would you like to share some parting words and information of how, again, although you've done that, but we like to close out with sharing that.
Thank you. I would very much. First of all of your listeners, we thank them for their participation. But I want to remind us, since we're talking about law and justice, that we should keep our eyes keenly observant on our enemy who is attacking our minister, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, particularly in social media. That's an area of law as well. And I want to say to all who are listening to our voice that as a matter of national advice, that when we defend our minister, and we should never get in the gutter with the enemy.
That's
when
right.
he gets in the gutter. We should not let him stoke our emotions where we make a response and a reaction that is beneath the dignity of a Muslim and beneath one who represents the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as a follower and Muslim. Moreover, the Holy Quran is very clear to us, and it says to us, we hurl truth against falsehood until it knocks out its brains. Is that right?
That's right.
And the Quran teaches us to argue in the best manner. So I would advise and caution all who are listening, keep your eyes and your ears and stay tuned to all that is taking place. But when you go to defend, as we all are duty bound to defend our beloved minister, when we defend in arguing in the best manner, hurling truth at falsehood until it knocks out his brains, and not getting down into the level where the enemy tries to take us. So, of course, if you want to reach me, it's easy to call the National Center, Mosque Mariam of the Nation of Islam, 773-324-6000, and ask to be connected to the office of the General Counsel.
Excellent. That's 773-324-6000, 773-324-6000, and ask for the office of the General Counsel.
And by the way, my email is NOI General Counsel, NOI General Counsel, all one word. And counsel, of course, is COUNSEL, NOI General Counsel at Comcast.net.
Okay, excellent.
And I thank Sister Barbara. I got to close by saying I want to thank Sister Barbara for really being lovingly persistent with me through almost the entire month of October. Brother online, I want y'all to know how beautifully loving and yet beautifully persistent she was.
We agree. We agree. I say.
Excellent, excellent.
We needed you on this program, Brother Arif. We needed you on it.
Well,
thanks for coming on.
Yes, as we close out the month of October, this is the last Monday in October, so we close out with a bang. We are so excited, and we pray that Allah has blessed all of us to benefit from the knowledge and wisdom that has been shared on this program. Of course, there's so much more to share. The purpose of this program is to inspire us, young or otherwise. However you may feel about yourself, we know what next to Allah, we're babies. We are his daughters and sons, right? So wherever you are in life, to be inspired to do that which Allah is calling you to do. And if it's in the field of law, to go make it happen. I shared this a few weeks ago. My godmother graduated from law school at 48 at the top of her class. She was my inspiration to, no matter what, however you are, what age you are, whatever has took place in your life, that as long as you have breath, your life continues, and you can pursue that which your heart desires. and we support all that you desire in righteousness. So may Allah continue to bless you. We look forward to seeing you next week. Does anyone else have any last words? We are coming up next week with the task force of finance. No, we have, I'm trying to bring that one up. We have the task force of finance coming up for the month of November, the finance task force. So we'll be talking all about finances. We'll have the those that are within and without the nation that have dedicated their lives to finance to help us with budgeting, help us with producing or acquiring wealth. We're looking forward to generational wealth. So we thank you, and we thank Allah. We thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for all that he has done and continues to do for us. You know, we talk about the Christ. You know, we talk about the one who is dying on that cross for us. Let's make his life easy. Let's put a smile on his face. Let's do all that, you know, he has been piping to us all the day long to do, and inshallah that's what we have done here today. I thank you again. May Allah continue to bless you. Assalamu alaikum.
Sister Barbara.
Yes.
Sister Barbara, we got to hear from Sister Barbara.
That's right. It's our last Monday with her.
Oh my God.
Thank you guys for having me on the show with you this October, just as you have done on past Octobers. It's been a pleasure again, and I just love doing this.
All praises to Allah, and we love you.
And there's an event. There's an event this Saturday, tribute to Sister Barbara. So please give us that information.
Okay, November 3rd, this Saturday at 4 o'clock. Mohammed Mas 15B is sponsoring. It's what is it? An appreciation dinner for me for all of the years that I have been in the nation and work on nation products and issues, along with Brother Arif and Sister Ava. And they just wanted to show me some appreciation. It's been 38 years.
Well deserved, well deserved, well deserved.
Allahu Akbar. And it's at 4 o'clock on Saturday. I don't have the flyer in front of me concerning the address. Okay, let me see if I can get it real quick. Okay.
Is that going to be a Facebook Live event?
I believe so.
Let us know.
Yeah, inshallah, I will be able to put it up live, Brother Arif.
Okay, very good.
That is my plan.
Okay. This whole thing was a surprise to me. It really was, because I work for the pleasure of doing it, helping to minister the nation. You know, Brother Arif, what we do.
Oh.
And, I don't expect anything in return, but Allah has blessed me throughout these 38 years. So I guess that's my payment. Blessings. Yeah. So I pray that Allah gives me another 38 years to continue working some more. Oh boy.
Yes, indeed. We do too.
Oh, okay. Eric just gave me something with the address. It's at the Clarkston Center, 3701 College Avenue, Clarkston, Georgia, from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. And let's see, where's the phone number? There's a phone number, 404-587-0957. And it says if you can also contact compassionate nurses. And that's it.
And there it is on the screen there, so you can see it.
Oh, good. That's beautiful. That's fantastic.
I'm hustling, trying to get it in, trying to get it in there. But it's Saturday, November 3rd at the Clarkston Center, 3701 College Avenue, Clarkston, Georgia. 321 from 4 to 8 p.m. Tickets are $45. You can purchase tickets through PayPal at TTOPNURS. That's T Top Nurse abbreviated. TTOPNURS@yahoo.com is and the Cash App is $Top Nurse 07. That's $Top TOP Nurse NURSE 07. Get your tickets. I'm sure they're going fast. Once they've been on this show, it's gonna be gone. So you gotta hurry up and get your tickets so we can honor those sisters who are survivors with Sister Dr. Barbara Crochet Muhammad being the keynote and the well, not the keynote, but the main honoree. So again, may Allah continue to bless you, and thank you so much, Sister Barbara. And I greet you as I came before you in the greeting words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you.
Wa alaikum salam. And also tune in, y'all, in about an hour. I'm going to be coming to you live from 104.5 Gospel Station in Douglas. That's FM, and then 11:20 a.m. Those are the call numbers. In about 1 hour, we'll be back on. Love you all much. Have a phenomenal week.
You too. Wa alaikum salam.